You love to see it. The Seattle Mariners just took down the Houston Astros yesterday in their first series of the year down at Minute Maid Park. Joe and I are going to go ahead and talk about everything that happened in this series, including the one loss the Mariners did have in this series that they probably should have ended up winning. We're then going to talk about everyone's favorite topic right now, which is moving Julio Rodriguez down in the lineup. Should the Mariners do it? We're going to talk about that, and then we'll break down the Minnesota Twins series coming up at the end of the show, as well as talking about possibly bringing up first baseman Tyler Locklear to the Major League Club. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 84 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Believe Network, the JT Chargois episode of the Hit It Here podcast. And I'm here with Joe. Joe, how are you?
I'm feeling good. Mariners catch a dub on a Sunday for the second time this year, not include, if you want to count the first one, we can. It was the doubleheader against the Rockies, a day when, they already had lost a game. So it's their first only winning Sunday, and it felt good. It felt good. The Mariners were, 100% in the win column today instead of 500 or 0. All right. It felt good to load up stream and have it crash. Unfortunately, internet decided to give me some fits. So apologies on that front, but overall good. It was a dicey game there. It was a little funky when it got down to the end, but Cal Raleigh comes through in the clutch. We'll talk about that here in a bit. Right-handed Cal, dude. He's something else. Bro knows how to hit dongers from the right-handed side of the plate. He will. I mean, if I'm looking around to the rest of the league, looking at catchers, maybe deserving an all-star nod for the American League, Cal Raleigh, bias included, don't care, not aside, bias included, I'm putting my bets down now that Cal Raleigh is making an all-star game for the first time this season in 2024. But quickly, a word from that sticky note, BetOnline. Thank you to BetOnline for being the sponsor for the Hit It Here podcast. BetOnline is your #1 source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoffs. All the latest stats, news, and scores will be available to you to follow your favorite teams on BetOnline. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Something I pointed out on stream was the previous 5 series that the Mariners had won on the 6-series win streak. The Mariners had taken down their opposition in Game 1. That is where the streak breaks here against this Astros team. The Mariners lost Game 1, Colton, but they managed to scratch and claw their way back into a series win here. But we do need to talk about Game 1 first, a 5-3 loss to the Mariners. It was within grasp. It was within reach. Kirby pitched well enough. His knee has been bothering him apparently, which is scary. But pitched well enough, 6 innings, 4 hits, only 1 earned run, only struck out 3 batters, so the swing and miss wasn't really in play a ton. But Colton, the Mariners did end up giving away this game. We just gotta break it all down, unfortunately, because it's not a really fun game. It's not a fun game to lose, this one specifically, in the way that they did it.
Yeah, the Mariners took the lead early with a Jorge Polanco solo shot in the 3rd inning. They gave it right back to the Astros in the bottom of the 4th inning before the Mariners took the lead again, making it 3-1 in the 5th with a 2-run home run from Dylan Moore. But that is where the scoring stopped for the Seattle Mariners. When you look at this game specifically, both teams ended up having 7 hits, 1 error on the Mariners. But when you talked about the strikeouts not being there for the pitchers, I mean, it was kind of that way the whole series. Like, the Astros didn't swing and miss that much. I think Logan had like 5 or something like that. Not a whole lot of strikeouts in this series for the Mariners starters, but they still were able to win this series. Like you said, George went 6. And then we get to, what inning was it? The 7th inning. Mariners are up 3-1. All right. Everyone's mad that Scott Servais pulled George Himeth Kirby from this game. But when you hear about the knee soreness, you know that he had some arm soreness like recently as well. It makes sense that he didn't go back out there for the 7th inning, because you really want to, at the beginning of May, throw one of your best starters out there and have them possibly injure themselves when they're already sore. No, that'd be stupid. So in the 7th inning, Trent Thornton came on, gave up 1 hit, 2 earned runs, and 1 walk. I believe that one was a home run, if I remember correctly. He got 1 out. Gabe Speier came in, got 1 out, walked 3, which is insane because Gabe Speier is one of the best pitchers in the world at controlling the strike zone. He walked 3 guys that inning. And then Cody Bolton came in to get the last out of the inning while walking one as well. So 5 walks in that inning alone from the Seattle Mariners. That's where things really got hairy, and they still had a chance to get out of it while limiting the damage. There were some, like Joe said, some shenanigans in this inning. I think the one that really stands out was where Mitch Haniger was camped underneath the ball in right field, and Julio just runs into him. Would Mitch have been able to throw the guy out at home plate? We'll never know. But the fact of the matter is, he probably had a shot, and the fact that Julio ran into him just kind of took any chance at Mitch Haniger from throwing that guy out of the plate away. Right then and there, I believe that was, if I remember correctly, that was in the 4th run, which gave the Astros the lead at that point, and they did not give it back. Joe, tell me, you didn't really get to see much of this game, right?
That is correct.
All right, good. Just checking. So Joe didn't get to see much of this game, so I guess I'll talk about this part, although I think you did see the replay. There were runners on second and third. You know the one.
I know. I mean, I saw the play.
Was it Josh Rojas on third? I think
Correct.
It was. Yeah. And Rojas kind of fakes like on a sac fly to right, what would have been a sac fly had Rojas been able to score. Fly out to right field to Kyle Tucker. Rojas kind of dekes like he's going home, but he wasn't ever going to try and tag up on that play. Julio just tried to tag up, head down, didn't look, and gets basically into a rundown, which ends with Josh Rojas being thrown out at the plate in that inning. 2 boneheaded mistakes from Julio in the same game. I personally, and again, we're going to talk about Julio here in a little bit. That was kind of for Julio right there. I'm like, this guy, he just needs something. Julio, like, I don't know if you bench him after that or what. There's only an inning left to play. You probably want your best defensive outfield out there. So maybe benching him is not the right move, but it's not like he lost focus at the beginning of this series. And I think that when it comes to game 1, that's where things really went astray, Joe.
And there's a quote from Shannon Drayer coming from Scott Service. There's also one from Julio, but I can't find it for the life of me. I don't even know where it is. I have no idea where it is in the Twitter universe, but Service on the base running in the 8th. Julio had his head down. Obviously, he thought Rojas was going to go. Manny had a no-go on him from the get-go. Again, we didn't play good baseball, free bases, base running miscues. You can't do that on the road against a good team. The quote from Julio was basically saying, like, yeah, it's on me. Like, he admitted his wrongdoings. And sure, that doesn't excuse the mistake. That doesn't excuse him running into the Mitch Haniger, trying to maybe throw the guy that's tagging up. But overall, it was just, I don't want to say it was like a lazy first game loss, but definitely mistakes that were preventable. And coming out of that game, it felt like one that if you lose it, it can start to derail like the progress this team has made as far as winning games that are close, trying to stay within themselves and like just play good baseball for 9 innings. Thank goodness the Mariners bounced back in game 2, Colton, because like I mentioned earlier, like they had gone off to a hot start in the previous 5 series by winning the first game. So now they're in uncharted territory for their winning streak of series so far in 2024. We didn't really know how it was going to go. We were going to face Framber Valdez in the second game. My prophecy came true, which was fantastic, that the Mariners were going to tag him for 5 runs. And your ace, Logan Gilbert, the stopper, did exactly what the Mariners needed him to do. Goes out there, throws 8 innings of shutout ball. A little bit more walks than he'd probably like. 4, but it is what it is. It's going to happen. Only 2 hits, but again, no runs across the plate. He was stranding runners left and right, only struck out 6. But another masterful performance from Logan Gilbert, Colton.
Logan, I think the only reason he wasn't able to go back out there for the 9th was because he ended up walking 4 guys. I think there was a walk in the 7th inning, I think that really like set things in motion to where he wasn't going to have, his pitch count was going to be too high to then send him out there in the 9th inning. But Logan Gilbert continues to be just the absolute stopper for this rotation. He is the guy that I think right now, no matter the situation, let's say the Mariners are on a 500 game losing streak and you have to pick one of these guys. I know, right? Crazy. You have to pick one of these guys to go out there and put an end to it. You go Logan Gilbert 10 times out of 10 right now. That is how good he has been. Again, only 6 strikeouts. The Mariners pitching, I was looking, they only struck out 21 hitters the entire series. So not much, but they got the job done. In this game, the Mariners won 5-0. Cal Raleigh had a big home run in this game. Luis Urias with the home run as well. 2 RBIs for Cal, 1 for Luis Urias. There was a 1 RBI for Mitch Garver as well. And then there must have been an unearned run in there somewhere because I only see 4 RBIs on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody in the lineup got a hit except for Dylan Moore and Sam Haggerty, and the Mariners were able to win the game. Saucedo came in, gave up one hit, struck out one in his final inning of the game. Mariners won 5-0 in a pretty convincing fashion. Probably their most complete game of the season in terms of offensive and pitching production, honestly.
Yeah, it was something that I think just in general, people rightfully so could be worried like how they were going to react to a gut punching loss in the first game. But they went out there, showed that they can get the job done in Minute Maid. It's no longer the House of Horrors from years past. They showed that last year too. They are continuing the tradition of being able to go into Houston and come out on top. And they did just that as well in the final game. Not as convincing. It was still, the Mariners put up 5, but the pitching did not do as much as they had done previously. And we'll kind of talk about if Bryce Miller should have been out there for the 7th. All right, we'll talk about it because I'm sure everyone wants to know. But Josh Rojas continues to be stellar, gets a start in left field. They're splitting up the platoon because yes.
Using George Kirby's glove, by the way.
That is true. I did read that. Like he didn't like Haggerty's because he tried it out. Like, yeah, it's a situation that he, coming into the season, he probably doesn't expect to get much outfield work given the, I guess the crew around him, the other personnel on the team. But starting left field for Rojas, moves over to third base late in the game when Haggerty pinch runs for Luis Urias after a clutch RBI hit. Rojas is that dude right now. He's got a WRC plus near 200, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's already passed his projected WAR by Fangraphs from Steamer. Very, very happy with him in the leadoff spot as it stands right now. The guy behind him didn't do any favors really today. Julio with a nice little offer. But overall, like, the Mariners offense did enough today. Luke Raley got his first home run, which was amazing. Absolutely tanked it too.
Crushed.
Yeah, got the pitch that he needed to hit, and he smacked it. So the Mariners, they put up 3 with Bryce Miller in the game, and we knew that it was never fully out of reach for the Astros. Like, this offense, the Astros offense is good enough to kind of fight back. Gilbert shut him down, but today Miller didn't have his best stuff. Goes 6 innings, gives up 6 hits, 1 walk, 3 Ks, 2 home runs, both 2-run shots. 1 in the 6th inning, and 1 to kick off the 7th. He did not record an out in that 7th inning. Colton, should Bryce Miller have gone out there for the 7th inning?
Yes.
And when should he have been taken out?
After the hit from Jeremy Pena.
Final answer. I agree. I don't think if he gets taken out and you start the 7th with the reliever. You said this before we started recording, so I'm not going to give you credit for your thoughts here. I'm not just going to steal your thunder. But same results happen. Jeremy Pena gets a hit, and then the home run happens right after by John Singleton. And it's a reliever. Everyone's mad that Bryce Miller did not go back out there. But since Bryce Miller did give up those runs, everyone's like, well, why didn't Scott pull him? He was obviously not having his best stuff. It is just a situation of, like, what have you done for me in today's game? Like, what is going on in that specific moment? And say Bryce Miller gives up the hit to Pena, they go to a reliever, they give up the home run. Then it's like, it's on both of them. The blame can be split. Like, we'll never know. But
the only reason that I'm upset they didn't pull Bryce Miller is because if he wouldn't have gone out there for the 7th, then the streak would have lived on, baby. But alas, he gave up 4 earned runs in this game. Therefore, the streak of 2 or less earned runs died today. We have a moment of silence. Thank you. Perfect. Bryce Miller, I think after he gave up that single to Jeremy Pena, you had a lefty warm in the bullpen in Taylor Saucedo against lefty John Singleton. And it was pretty clear that, like you said, Bryce Miller did not have his best stuff. He was sitting like 94, 95 instead of like the 96 to 98 that we've seen out of him, like even in the last game against the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that sending him out there to begin the 7th inning was the right move simply because he was at like 88 pitches or something like that. So send him back out there. Cool. Like, you need it. Especially when you have a series coming up against a team that just won 12 games in a row. Pretty good offensive ball club there in Minnesota. So I'm not mad about him going back out there. I was a little bummed he didn't get pulled to face John Singleton, but alas, it is what it is. Taylor Saucedo came in and shut the door, but at that point the Mariners were losing 4-3. And then you had who was it? Was it Montero that gave up the home run in the 8th inning? Rafael Montero?
There's no homer in the 8th inning. It was the
Or
Luis.
the earned run, right?
Dylan. It was Brian Abreu. Dylan Moore gets hit by a pitch, then a balk on a pickoff moves him up to second. A pretty solid at bat from Luis Urias. Gets a ball, hits it back up the middle. Dylan Moore has to go back on it because he kind of hit like a little looper, and he still manages to score. He was touching third base when I don't know if the defensive replacement had happened yet. If it was still, if I think it was Jake Myers out there in center at that point.
Not Loper Fido.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But fielded the ball as Demo's touching the bag at third. So a better throw, like maybe more on a line, probably gets him because it was a close play at the plate. But that's what speed do. Speed do tie the game. And Stanek comes in, gets a couple outs. Not a pretty 2/3 of an innings pitched. But Munoz does then finish the job in that 8th inning, keeping the game tied, allowing for the big dumper to dump all over into the Crawford boxes off of Josh Hader. It's a pretty brutal signing so far with his production. He's given them a 6.14 ERA for $19 million a year. It's not looking pretty for the Astros bullpen this year.
In the end, the Mariners do take this series versus the Houston Astros 2-1. I think a big boost after winning those 2 games, because like you said, after game 1, it seemed like this could kind of derail things, but the Mariners were able to bring it back, and they get ready to head on to Minnesota to take on the Twins. But first, Joe, I want to mention something about the Washington State Sports Collectors Association. Now, they have a convention coming up on June 1st at the Linwood Convention Center. Go ahead and go there and meet Connor all day long. You can meet them at the convention center. It is going to be from 9 to 10 is VIP hours. General admission is 10 to 5 p.m. For VIP, admission is going to be $15. General admission is $5. And if you have a kid under 12, they are going to be free. There's going to be over 80 dealer tables, modern and vintage sports cards. It's a group of local collectors that have been meeting and putting on the shows since 1973. And attendees are welcome to bring items to sell or trade. Again, that's the Linwood Convention Center on Saturday, June 1st from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. More info at WSSCASeattle.com. And if I'm able to get off work that day, I'm probably going to try to go up there just to see what it's all about, kind of meet Connor and maybe film some video while I'm there. So if you guys are going and happen to see me there, make sure you say hello. Joe, what's your favorite baseball card that you own?
My favorite one that I own? I have like an autographed Jamie Moyer, like big brick card that I got when I was like 9 or 10. But I do have a pretty like neat like Buster Posey patch one that someone stupid gave me. Or
you do have one sitting on your desk right now, right? That's pretty good.
Yeah, but that's not like any sort of like sanctioned tradable card. I don't think I could get away with trading that one.
Imagine.
Yeah. How much is this 2008 Colton Swanson redacted Little League Red Sox, age 11, position third base? Yeah, right.
Okay, dude.
How much is that worth?
Let us know in the comments down below how much that card is worth. Thank you for asking, Joe. My favorite card that I own is probably, I have a dual Edgar Martinez, Ken Griffey Jr. game used memorabilia patch card. It's like, I think, Griffey's bat and Edgar's jersey. And then I have one that's, I think one of my favorite ones is it's signed by Felix and Taijuan Walker when he was like supposed to be the Prince of Seattle. Pretty cool card there. I also have a Julio Rodriguez autographed baseball card, Joe, which transitions so well.
Yeah, I didn't
to
ask,
our next question. All right, sounds good. Well, hey, do you think that Julio should get moved down in the lineup?
As it stands right now, probably. Like, it wouldn't hurt, I wouldn't say. I don't think he needs to consistently be getting your second most at-bats on your team right now. With the way that he is performing, it's a situation where his average is okay. He's doing all right in the average department, but there's absolutely no slug. There's no pop in his bat right now. Over his last 7 games, got 29 at-bats, only 6 hits. I don't think there's much extra base in there, if I'm being honest.
No, he has a slugging of 241 during that time.
Yeah, 207, 258, 241 slash. He struck out 6 times, so like the strikeouts aren't terrible in that specific span, but he's not really lifting the ball a ton. There was a ball today, I can't remember what inning it was. It was in the middle of the plate, and bro just like rolled over to shortstop. Like, he's not getting a lot of lift on the ball, and in the last 15, it looks a little bit better, hitting 311, 354 with a 377 slash. Popped his first homer in that time, but overall, Julio is just not really putting up the prototypical number 2 guy in your lineup that is now the most impactful part of your order numbers that you want to see. And is there really anybody else on this team right now that would be better in that spot? It's not like a super clear and cut answer where like you could understand why Scott would make that move immediately. Like getting Josh Rojas in the leadoff spot, that makes a ton of sense. Josh Rojas has been your best hitter. As far as everything else, 2 through 9, it's a bit more of a grab bag. Like you don't know what you're doing because none of the guys are really showing out being like, I'm your number 2 hitter right now. So I think that's probably a product of why Julio's had maybe a bit more of a leash there, other than the fact that he's Julio Rodriguez. And who knows, maybe by this time next week, Julio's hit 3 more home runs and he's slugging over like 500, maybe 600 in that time. Like he just starts to pop off. He warms up after the April, March, whatever slump that he goes through, and he's popping off in May. If I'm picking my number 2 hole batter right now, I'm probably going Rojas and I'm going Polanco would be where I'd go. If you're okay with running both of your switch hitters back to back, then you go Cal Raleigh. You go Rojas, Polanco, Cal Raleigh. Do you go Julio 4? I think he has to hit 5. 5 is where I'd probably slot him and maybe go Garver 4. And then 5 be Julio, 6, 7 Haniger, Ty France, something like that. Maybe even throw in Luke Raley above one of them as a possibility. He's looking pretty okay at the plate now after getting some consistent playing time. But if it's for a limited time, an LTO, limited time offer, Julio not hitting in the 2 spot, like just to maybe get his timing right, maybe give him a different look from the pitcher. Because Julio's getting exposed by a variety of different pitches. High and inside, he's missing a lot. He's just not making good swing decisions. So, I mean, it seemed like in my ramblings, you kind of are in that same mindset for Julio moving down in the order. Is there something else that maybe you're like noticing, or like, is it like for you, like you've seen enough, it's time to move him down for a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, getting a different look from the pitcher. He is struggling right now. And it's not necessarily like you said, it's not necessarily the swinging at the slider outside like it was last year, him and Teoscar Hernandez both. But like a couple times today specifically, he got like just had some really, really poor swings on some pitches that were low and inside. And he's not getting the barrel to the baseball, and he's not putting the ball in the air. And frankly, Julio Rodriguez is at his best when he's putting the ball in the air and doing damage. And that's just not where he is right now. I think he's still hitting the ball relatively hard, but he's hitting it on the ground right at people. And part of this might be maybe he has some bad BABIP luck in there, but as of right now, he just doesn't look like a competitive hitter at the plate. I think moving him down to 5 and having the lineup exactly as you said, Rojas, Polanco, Cal, Garver, Julio, you're giving him an opportunity to maybe see the pitcher a little bit longer, at least in his first at-bat. Maybe he then hits in like the second inning, so they have a little bit of data on how the pitcher's attacking them that day, and just easing him in a little bit, because Julio Rodriguez does not have to be the guy anymore with this lineup. You know, you look at Mitch Garver's a guy who, once he gets going, and he has been lately, is a guy who will probably produce. Same with Jorge Polanco. Josh Rojas has looked really good. How sustainable is it? We don't know, because we don't really have a whole lot of tape on Josh Rojas just because of injuries over the last year or so. I think that Rojas, though, until he cools down, remains your leadoff hitter, even when JP Crawford comes back. Julio is a guy who just needs to get back into his groove, and once he does, he's going to go on an absolute tear. Batting him in the 5 spot, I think, is going to be your best chance. He's going to be making his return to Target Field, Minnesota Twins, where he made his Major League debut, Joe. And so him going back to Target Field, maybe it kind of brings something a little bit back, you know? Maybe it brings some youth into Julio Rodriguez and his old bones.
Yeah, exactly. He needs the fountain of youth that Target Field is. Colton, I will tell you, him batting 5th might not be a bad shout. He's currently batting, I'm going to give you a slash line. I want you to guess how many at-bats he has in the 5 hole. 462, 500 with a 1.154 OPS. Sorry, slugging with a 1.654 OPS. How many at-bats is that?
27.
Nope, only 13.
Oh, half.
Yeah, half of that. So yeah, it's a situation where he's really only hit in the first and second spot in his career for the most part. Like that's been where he's been at, other than his first month debut. Julio's been up there. So moving him down, it's a situation where like, okay, we'll see how he fares. Are we a little preemptive with moving him down? I don't think so, but don't be surprised if Julio just goes on a heater against the Minnesota Twins, just randomly.
And it doesn't need to be like a long-term thing. He could go down to 5 for like this series versus the Twins, and then immediately go back up to 2 if he all of a sudden goes on a heater. You know, sure. It's a 4-game series versus the Twins, Joe, with Luis Castillo on the mound versus Simeon Woods Richardson.
Yeah, one of the longest names in baseball.
Yeah. Break this game down for me. How are we feeling about Luis against the Twins?
You did mention that the Twins are on quite a bit of a heater. They
lost today.
They lost today, but they were previous winners of 12 in a row, and the scoreboard watchers will point out that it was 7 games against the White Sox, I believe, and then 3 against, like, sure, the quality of opponent isn't super impressive, but you just have to play the team that's in front of you, right? And so the Twins, one, they're just slugging the hell out of the baseball. Like, beat the Angels 16-5 on April 27th, 11-5 the next day. They dropped 6 and 10 back-to-back days against the White Sox. Like, the Twins offense, which there's definitely some cause for concern about where they're at, because they lost Royce Lewis early on in the year. A lot of the guys that they're like Carlos Correa still is, he's not, I don't think the contract's really living up to where they wanted it to be. But overall, the Twins have started to kind of pull their season out of the mud and are in a pretty competitive Central Division. Can Castillo go into Target Field and shut them down? Yes. Castillo's looked great every step of the way, aside from like the first 3 starts of the year. Like, he's been very solid consistently since then. I would not be surprised, given his track record and Simeon Woods Richardson's lack thereof, the pitching advantage going towards Seattle in Game 1 Monday. You're hearing this at 4:40. So I don't know. I'm not fully worried, I would say, about this Twins team that was just on a massive win streak. Yes, like, we've got nightmares of Edward Julian from last year, just for some reason becoming the best hitter on the planet for a time period there. Ryan Jeffers is having a phenomenal year for the Twins offensively. But outside of some guys that are having, I'd say, career moments so far, it's nothing that the Mariners can't handle given their 6 consecutive series win streak.
When you look at the Seattle Mariners and the Minnesota Twins right now, both teams are at 19 wins. So let's look at how the Mariners got there and how the Twins got there. Which one seems more sustainable? It's the Mariners. Like, it's no doubt about it. Like, the Twins, they had to win 12 in a row to even get to where the Mariners are right now. And frankly, that just goes to show the Mariners are a better ball club. They are, 100%. Luis Castillo versus Simeon Woods Richardson. Game 2, we're going to see Emerson Hancock once again against Bailey Ober, Joe, who Ober, I honestly thought was going to have a better start to the year than he has. I have him in like 2 or 3 fantasy leagues, and he's kind of screwed me a few times, so I'm mad at him. But this is a game where I'm okay if he sucks.
There's been, like, it's like flashes of brilliance with him, because he'll go out there and throw a clunker, and then the next start out, he's going 7 shutty. Like, it's a very up and down season so far, it seems like, for Bailey Ober. Emerson Hancock, this likely would be his last start before Brian Wu comes back. Wu made the final 3rd rehab start that everyone's been talking about. Another stellar outing from him. So Wu's likely on the comeback train after this Twins series, if I'm being honest. So if this is Emerson Hancock's last hurrah, why not go out with a bang and try and get the Mariners?
Oh, perfect game.
Yeah, exactly. Make the Mariners want to keep you in the rotation. Not to say that Hancock's looked bad to, like, they're like desperate to get him out of there, but a Twins team that currently has the 9th best WRC plus in all of baseball. Like, the team has been pretty good offensively, I would say. There are currently WRC plus of 109. So can Hancock go in there and shut them down? Maybe. There have been times where I was like, Emerson Hancock doesn't have it. And then he goes out there and he's like, yo, bro, I have it. Like, what are you talking about? You're an idiot. Directly to me. He'll call me in the dugout in between innings like, bro, you're so stupid. And I'm like, my bad, dog.
You
I'm
guys
sorry
are
that
close like that.
yeah, exactly. I call him Emmy. You know, he's my guy. Um, anyways, moving on.
So game 3, Joe. George Kirby versus the corpse of Chris Paddock.
Hey man, he just struck out 10 the other day.
Did he? Well,
Yeah.
hold on. All right, okay, this is my game. I break this one down.
Okay.
All right? Do you mind?
Of course.
So, talking about Brian Wu, there is a chance that he does come back in this game if the Mariners do decide to put George Kirby on the IL, which sounds unlikely. Service said that he thinks that George will be able to go in his next start. Obviously, George, with his whatever's happening with his knee and whatever was happening with his arm, maybe the Mariners do just decide, hey, let's give it a little bit longer and let George kind of rest for a few games here, and let's bring Brian Wu back in his place. We could see him in this game. I don't think we will. I think that it will be George in this game versus, again, Chris Paddock, who once upon a time looked like he was poised to be one of the best pitchers in baseball for quite a while when he was with the San Diego Padres, and he just fell off the face of the earth. He has a 4.78 ERA so far this year compared to George's 3.76, who see George has really kind of brought things back down to earth. He's looked really good in his last couple of starts. I think, again, we say it every series because it's kind of hard not to. The only time that we might not say it is against the Phillies. The Mariners have the pitching advantage in this series. You have 4 games in Minnesota. Well, we also need to talk about, Joe, the possibility that some of these games get rained out.
I hope not. I'd be really... I hate when there's rainouts. One, because, like, what do I do with my day? Like, what am I supposed to do? Not watch the Mariners because of some rain? Because building architects are too dumb to put a dome on a place where there's a lot of inclement weather? It's beyond me why modern baseball just does not, I don't want to say require, but encourage stadium builders to be like, hey guys, let's make it so we can play as many games as possible and not have to worry about scheduling issues.
On Monday, we should be all right.
Sick.
Cloudy, 75. No rain, a 4% chance of rain.
Okay.
Tuesday, 69 degrees.
Nice.
Yeah. Rain in the morning, a slight risk of thunderstorms in the afternoon. High of 69.
Nice.
Chance of rain, 70%. Rainfall near 1/4 inch. Wednesday, chance of rain, 40%. Increasing clouds with periods of showers later in the day. Thunder possible, 71 degrees. Thursday, right now, looks like it should be clear. So if they do have to play a doubleheader, I would assume it would be on Thursday on the getaway day.
Yeah.
Before the Mariners have to fly back home and take on Oakland the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, ideally, this is not the case. And when we look at this series, we don't need another doubleheader. But if they do have a doubleheader, I do hope it's Thursday because I'm off on Thursday, so that'd be cool.
Just get a full day of slated baseball for the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, I'm in.
You're in, bro.
I am so far in, Joe. But that brings us to the final game of the series, which is going to be, Joe, tell me because I don't have it pulled up.
It's Logan Gilbert, Cy Young contender, versus Pablo Lopez, the definite ace of the Twins pitching staff. The Twins starting pitching has left a lot to be desired so far in 2024. They lost Sonny Gray. They lost Kenta Maeda. I don't know why I thought bringing up Kenta Maeda would be important. It's mainly Sonny Gray that they're missing a lot of. Sonny Gray was phenomenal.
Tyler Mahle, right?
Yeah, but he was injured. It's more so the quality in which they lost because Sonny Gray was very good for them. He's having a pretty solid year with St. Louis. And their team ERA from the starting pitchers alone is it's 25th in all of baseball with a 4.57 ERA. The Mariners are at a 3.02. There's a big disparity between the ERAs of the Twins and the Mariners. Pablo Lopez is a phenomenal pitcher, but Logan Gilbert's currently got about 3 earned runs on him. A 1.69 versus a 4.30. Like, there's a big disparity here in terms of the quality of pitching that both teams have been getting. I mentioned the Twins offense. It's been a lot better than the Seattle Mariners. I'm encouraged, though, by how the Mariners offense has looked specifically against the Astros the last 2 games, putting up 5 each. I'm a lot more confident than I am, say, after the Braves series, where it really took timely home runs. Like, yes, the Mariners also needed a timely home run by Cal Raleigh to win that final game. However, it was a solo shot. The Mariners put up 4 earlier in that game. If the Mariners are scoring 4 to 5 against any of these Twins pitchers, I'm relatively confident in that game going in the favor for the Mariners because of the quality of pitching that the Mariners have been putting out there every single night. And although their starting pitching, Colton, has been not great for the Twins, their bullpen, it's damn good. Okay. The Mariners will have their work cut out for them as soon as they get the starter out of the game. The Twins have the 4th best ERA by bullpen in baseball. The Mariners are 5th. It's a 2.69 ERA. Nice for the Twins. And a 2.8 for the Mariners. So it's close. One thing that the Twins do exceptionally well is they're striking out a lot of batters with their bullpen. Currently the 2nd highest K per 9 in all of baseball, right behind the Mets. They've got an 11.08 K per 9 from their bullpen. Yeah, they're striking out a ton, and that's with missing Joan Duran at the beginning of the year.
Most of the season, yeah.
But I believe he's back now, right?
He is back. Yep. You got, I think Griffin Jack's still in that bullpen as well, who's been pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. With getting the starter out early might not actually be the way you want to do it. If you're the Mariners in this series, you need to do damage versus a starter because you're going to have trouble doing it versus this Twins bullpen. Yeah, I think overall I feel good about this series. As long as they're able to get all the games in, I feel relatively okay about the Mariners at the bare minimum splitting this series. Bare minimum. I say it's hard to sweep. It's really hard to mop.
Extremely hard to mop
in MLB. And so obviously we'd love to see the Mariners win this series and go on a 7-series win streak. At least split the series before you come back home to take on the Athletics and then the Kansas City Royals. But Joe, is it possible that a certain first baseman from Arkansas could be at T-Mobile Park when the Mariners get back?
I wouldn't go that quick with the jumping to Tyler Locklear here, but Jerry Dipoto was in Arkansas, overseeing some Travs games, which is interesting. Take it with a grain of salt. He could just be there to hang out in Arkansas, like people do sometimes. People go to Arkansas for things to do.
No, they don't.
I'd go to Arkansas to watch the Travelers.
Right.
Locklear has been I'd say the pillar of consistency as far as offense goes in Arkansas. Mariners prospect, you guys know him. He's hit in every part of the minor leagues that he's been in. And so far in 2024 in Arkansas, he's hitting .319, .451 with a .538 slug, a .989 OPS. He's hit 4 homers, 1 in front of Dipoto, driven in 17 runs. Like, he is knocking on the door, I'd say. It's starting to become like okay, hey, like, I'm here, bro. And it's all kind of incumbent on the fact that Ty France really hasn't been slugging a ton. And you're a big proponent, Colton, that the slugging doesn't have to come from your first baseman if other positions are doing it. Like you've mentioned, Jorge Polanco is kind of picking up that slack in that regard. But if France continues his lack of slugging ways, do you foresee a call-up of Tyler Locklear anytime before, say, like the All-Star break?
Before the All-Star break, unless there's an injury, no. Because at that point, I honestly would think that like Michael Chavis or someone comes up and plays first base for you. Can Michael Chavis play first base? He's been playing first base down there. Or like Jason Vossler or whatever, you know. I think that they want to make sure that Tyler Locklear is developing correctly in the minor leagues. And I don't think you do that by bringing him up right now, possibly before he's ready. But I think there is a good chance that we do see him this year. At the same time, you also have Luke Raley on your roster who can play first base. You can throw, if you want to, Mitch Garver over there. It's an option. I don't think it's a good option, but it is an option. So the Mariners are they're okay at first base right now. But Locklear is knocking on the door, along with a couple of other prospects. And I think you guys should check this video out on the screen right now because I talked about all those prospects in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 84 of the Hit It Here podcast presented by Bet Online. The Lucario Pokemon Pokédex number, but backwards.
Kind of. It's 448. So like you take 2 of the numbers, you go 84 and you'll scratch off one of them. Whatever. It's Lucario's episode.
Yeah. And go Mariners.